I am Inés Yabar. I am a 27-year-old activist from Peru, and I've spent the last 12 years advocating for better systems where people are understood and where their needs are fulfilled, and that can be reducing inequalities in shantytowns in Peru or reducing plastic pollution, and then moving towards the education space. And I really found that the Sustainable Development Goals are the ones that kind of anchored my work, seeing the intersections between the different issues that people can face wherever they are in the world. I started my advocacy in Peru and then moved away to different countries, starting with France, moving to Lebanon, Japan, Sierra Leone, Canada. And in all of those places, I found so many people taking action to achieve a more sustainable world. And that's really where my passion lies, is finding those people and supporting them in their journey to help achieve a more sustainable world. Being a young change maker is just taking action on issues that we're passionate about. And I think any young person can be a change maker and impact the community that they're in. And that could be through the private sector, the public sector, civil society, just making sure that the actions that we're taking are actions that are leading to a better world. And I've seen that in all the organizations that I've worked in, be it NGOs in my country or in others, be it with the government also in my country or in other countries, or with companies that have funded the work that we do. And I think there's a lot of power in us working together and not seeing young people as siloed from multiple processes, but actually seeing us as embedded within the processes, because we have more innovation, we have lived experiences and the different issues that we're trying to tackle. And we have a drive that many times people that are older are maybe more tired or more embedded in certain ways, and we can bring a new perspective. I started off my activism in the plastic pollution space and also in the reduction of inequality space in shantytowns. And I always found it difficult to merge those two worlds, because many times humanitarians are seen as not environmentally conscious, and vice versa, those that care for the environment aren't seen as caring for people. And so it was really through the Sustainable Development Goals that I saw the intersection of all these different issues and how working towards one could help work towards the other. So my passion now is in finding those intersections between different issues that people are passionate about. I currently work with the United Nations Foundation, supporting young people who have projects in their own countries and communities that are helping achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And then back home in Peru, I also work with young people with local projects. So one of those is called Blue Mood, where we're reforesting a part of the ocean with macroalgae to make sure that the fish can reproduce better, that fishermen have a better income, but also that we're capturing carbon in the ocean. So like specific projects like those, where I feel I have a tangible impact in my community, but also bringing it to a global scale where I can support young people who are passionate about a series of different issues, mostly around education, health, peace, future generations, and making sure that they're talking to each other so that their solutions aren't siloed, but they're actually working together to achieve a better world. I always find hope in people more than in organizations, because I think any organization can really do amazing work if the people within it are passionate about it. And so I've found organizations that are doing amazing things because I've worked with the people that are within it. So for instance, we just recently worked with the United Nations Youth Office that brought a lot of people to New York for the United Nations General Assembly. But I've also worked with the private sector recently, or a couple years ago, worked with Unilever, who funded young people's solutions to achieve a better world. But I've also worked with my government and represented them at the Conference of Parties for the Environment. And so it's finding those people within organizations that are leveraging the power of young people and making sure that we're working together to achieve a better world. So multilateralism is the way that states engage with each other to make sure that they're listening to their different issues, but also collaborating in the ones where they find commonalities. The best example for me of multilateralism going well is the creation of the Sustainable Development Goals in 2015. So all the countries at the UN agreed that we need to reduce poverty, that people need access to food, that people need access to education, that people need access to good health care, that climate change is an issue that everyone should tackle, that we should partner, etc., etc. I'm not going to go through the 17 goals, but multilateralism created this kind of global agenda of how we can achieve a world that's more fair and a world where not only our generations today, but future generations actually can thrive. Multilateralism is also a process or a mechanism that is slow because it requires for everyone to agree. And so now that we have those goals, we need to put them into action. And that then breaks it down into what different countries, companies, individuals can do. Multilateralism is just a place where people agree, but the action actually happens on the ground and in grassroots communities. I've been fortunate enough that I didn't have to be disappointed before something happened that kind of reassured me that I was going in the right path. So I started advocating at 15, not thinking that I was going to help generate data that would then create a law. I was just like doing what I wanted to do and making sure that I was taking action in an issue I was passionate about. And so were so many other people. And I think there's power in that collective, and seeing, in our case in Peru, we started a national beach cleanup and companies would come and fund that cleanup. And then young people would come and participate in the cleanup, and the government would kind of endorse our actions. And then finally, 7 years after doing that, with no intention on my end of generating a law, it was just like, I'm taking action and other people are taking action. And that data that we generated through that yearly national cleanup generated a law. But it was never my goal. I'm sure that there were other people that did think of that because they were older and wiser and had understanding of different political processes. But in my case, I was just taking action. And that's the hope that I find, is in what can I do and what can I see the little change that I'm doing. And then sometimes it magnifies. And now that there's a law, it means that the whole country is affected. And so I've seen kind of the multiplication of those small actions and everyone working from their different areas of expertise, bringing something that then generates change across a whole nation. And now we're in negotiations for a global plastics treaty, which means that all countries would have to adhere to some kind of regulation on plastic. So we're seeing that go from very grassroots to then government-wide to now worldwide, where everyone is having to decide what we're going to do about this issue. And that's happened in many different topics, even like in climate change and the Paris Agreement. Now seeing the implementation of that and making sure that anyone, anywhere knows that if they take action, it does matter. And in whatever sector you're in, if you do something, it will generate positive change. Greenwashing is a word, but now youth washing is also a word. And I've seen how companies just want to have young people on their website to say, hey, look, we showcase someone in a panel or something. But actually, the best work that I've seen with companies is when we're not on any panel, not on any stage, but actually working with them to change internal processes that will have a bigger impact, not only within their company, but then externally as well. I think the beauty of change making is that you never know what's next. And we're always expectant of what that next big moment is, but until that happens, we just keep working. And in my journey, I've found myself moving from a very specific issue of plastic pollution to then a broader spectrum of things within the Sustainable Development Goals. And a couple years ago, I became very passionate about education, and now I'm becoming very passionate about SDG 17, which is partnership for the goals. And so I don't know what's next. There's definitely a lot of learning that's next, and a lot of new opportunities that will allow me to expand that impact. But I don't think, well, I can't see into the future, but I definitely know that partnerships are the key to achieving a more sustainable and just world. And so I'm looking forward to see what the new partnerships that we can create are that will lead to a world that's not only better for me or for the people that are in that partnership, but for future generations as well.